But let's concentrate now on Iraq because, again, I see similarities here. Iraq, one of the world's largest areas of oil reserves. There's no question Saddam Hussein used to play ball with us, and then all of a sudden things changed. There have always been rumors that in 1990-ish he went and talked to us and said, look, Kuwait is slant drilling, taking my oil. I believe this is my oil, and I've got to stop it. And I think we may have said, it's an Arab dispute. Take care of it the way you have to. Is that true?
We told him, April Glaspie, as ambassador to Iraq at the time, under Bush Sr., we told him point blank, it's an Arab-to-Arab dispute, and we don't get involved in border disputes. We gave him the green light to invade. And his complaint about who was slant drilling may have had something to do with why he was sucker punched, allowed to invade Kuwait, and then have his military crushed. It's because of a company called Santa Fe International.
Tell me about this. And also, Saddam was no Boy Scout. You know, we know some of his atrocities. His sons should have been exterminated a long time ago. They were absolutely insane, dumping people in wood chips. You know, they'd go up to some guy who had a pretty girl and said, we want to spend the night with her. And he'd say, no, this is my wife. They'd take the guy and dump him in a wood chipper.
Yes, and the leaders of Saudi Arabia and Kuwait are no different. They were listed above Iraq as human rights violators.
I agree. I agree. But tell me about Santa Fe. Yeah.
Santa Fe International is a corporation that at that time may still be. I haven't bothered to follow up. At the time that we invaded Iraq, is a 100% owned Kuwait Petroleum. Kuwait Petroleum owned it. The Al-Sabah family owned that company. And it owns 275 oil and gas leases on 250,000 acres of U.S. government land. It is a U.S.-based corporation. But this is and it's also got a subsidiary. C.F. Braun was a defense contractor of nuclear weapons material.
A Kuwait company owned a subsidiary. Unbelievable.
Yes.
I can't take this anymore, Craig.
Yeah.
That's unbelievable.
And who is on the board of Santa Fe International? Former President Gerald Ford, who named George Bush CIA director, Brent Scowcroft, an aide to Gerald Ford, who was now the national security advisor under Bush, Carla Hill's husband, Roderick Hills. She was our trade representative. So we not only had our own people in and out of the government, rotating in and out of that very corporation, that is the corporation that developed on American soil slant drilling. That's why Kuwait had the technology to slant drill into Iraq.
To do it. We set up Saddam Hussein for whatever reason. Why did we decide to ease him out of power? Why did we want to get him out of there?
Well, that was planned well in advance. There was a number of reports that I quoted in my book, and I went all over this country. I did thousands of hours of radio on this, George. This wasn't just me on some little university station. I was on Jim Bohannon and every major network.
Yeah.
I was out there making these arguments. And one of the task force reports that were issued before 1990, and there was a conference held in the White House, they decided, and I'll just briefly quote from it, an initiative which may now be more readily achievable by agreement between East and West as a result of a greatly improved climate. They're talking about the fact that Russia collapsed. And now that Russia was out of the picture, we could do what we wanted in the Middle East. And it says, accordingly, urgent action should now be taken to initiate linked nuclear, chemical, biological control and verification measures in the Middle East. Iraq was named as the number one country, and they said this is a matter which might appropriately be considered by the UN Security Council. So they provoked Saddam Hussein to walk into a trap. He gets sucker punched. We fulfill this task force report's initiative to remove Saddam Hussein's nuclear, biological, chemical, and conventional weaponry and reduce him to a servant state. But the truth was, even at that time, there was no evidence whatsoever he had chemical, biological, or nuclear weapons capability, nor ballistic missiles. If he had a nuclear warhead, he couldn't deliver it. He had no or capability. We wanted to reduce him to a puppet regime. But you have to understand, we're not after Iraq alone, and we're not in Afghanistan alone. If you look at the map, we've got who suckered and set right in the middle of it, and who is the target?
It's Iran.
It's Iran. It was always Iran.
So that game is not over yet. We're right in the middle of this.
We're beginning the whole game again, claiming that Iran is going to have a nuclear weapon and going to nuke Boston tomorrow.
If the Shah of Iran, who again wasn't a Boy Scout, none of these people we support were Boy Scouts. You know, he had his organizations. What was it called? Savak, that went and did all kinds of things to people in that country. But if he were still in power, would we be doing this right now?
No, he would be working. He would have worked with us. He worked with us in the past, and he would have been more amenable to Western technology and development and armament. But Saddam Hussein was malleable against Iran. We supply. Where do you think all the C4 is coming from in Iraq to build the IEDs?
It's coming from Iran, isn't it?
No, that's our C4. We
It's
supplied
ours?
him and taught him how to use it.
Oh my God!
And
That's
who's
stockpile.
teaching all these people to build the bombs and who's fighting? It's not a bunch of Al Qaeda. That's
People
ludicrous.
we trained. People
it's the
we
Republican
trained.
Guard.
Who we trained.
Who we trained.